it became physically impossible for me to be the best teacher I could be without having a migraine headache attached to it. And so simple things like bending down to tie a shoe and standing up again, I would find myself dizzy or sometimes nauseated. Often if I had a headache, the lights in schools are usually the terrible blue lights. They're horrible. They'll flicker. All of that stuff. I would have to wear sunglasses sometimes to block that light, and it just became really hard on my body. So I decided to end out that school year and stay home and figure out what was going on in my body. And it turns out I had food sensitivities and food allergies that I was completely unaware of.
Hi, welcome to Say More Words, a podcast that was created to emphasize the human experience through stories. I hope that you come here to learn, to expand, and most importantly, learn how to say more words. Speak your story, speak your truth, boo-boo. We're so happy you're here. Okay, welcome back to Say More Words. I'm your hostess with the most, Tamika Taylor, and I am so excited to have a guest. It's been a hot minute since we've had a guest on the podcast, and I'm really excited to introduce you to Paula. But first, Paula, what is our song of the day?
It is Do Something by Matthew West.
Ugh, I love that song. I love that song so much. And you said that's your walk-up song?
Yeah, I've used it before as a walk-up song, and I love it.
I love that. I think there's so much that can be said by people, like what they pick for their walk-up song. And I love that song. So that is perfect. So, friends, Paula is a new friend of mine. Her name is Paula Tobey. She is a coach. She lives in Houston, Texas. And I got to meet her. I spoke at an event here recently in Dallas, and I got to meet her and connect with her. And we had similar life stories and things that were happening. And it was just one of those amazing divine God connections that I love so much. So to start, Paula, will you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I love to think of myself as a healthy living educator. So I am by profession a teacher, and I definitely was created to be a teacher and all of the things that encompass that. But what that looks like for me today is author, speaker, and I am a women's empowerment coach, but more specifically, a collaborator. My favorite thing to do is bring women together and help them find their unique gifts and help them rise into the leaders that God created them to be.
So what path or what does it look like when somebody's working with you? Like if somebody, like what is the most common reason that people seek you out? And then what does it look like when they work with you?
Yeah, so I would say the most common would be they get into my Facebook community. It's called the Phenomenal Collective on Facebook. And that is a space for women, mostly entrepreneurs, but a lot of business women find themselves there. Some executives, and I have everything from women that are just working, their job and then have the side gig, and we have CEOs and lawyers and doctors and all the things. So it's a really great group where people can connect. But from there, I love to help lead smaller groups through workshops and masterminds, and I also help women one-on-one through actual life coaching. We dig into everything. Our whole lives are one, and to separate your work and your life, and specifically your faith, can be really challenging at times. And so we kind of focus on all of that.
So how did you go? Because I do have a lot of teachers who listen to my podcast. I have a lot of teachers in my space who have worked with me. Actually, my brand manager, Lauren, she was a teacher before. And I find that a lot of girls specifically, when we're little, we say that, the famous words, I want to be a teacher someday. And then you get
Yeah.
old and or older and you become a
Yeah.
teacher and you love it, and then it kills you and you're like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? I can't do
Yeah.
this anymore. I can't do the scheduling. I can't do the pay. I can't do any of that. So what took you from being a teacher to being a teacher? Like,
Yeah.
in the sense of like, how did you bridge that path? Because I find, and I was the same way. I told my parents I wanted to be a teacher, and
Mm-hmm.
every teacher said, don't do that because, you won't like it, or there's no money, or it's hard, or etc. And as
Mm-hmm.
I became older and started doing what I do now, which is very similar to what you do, I realized like I'm still a teacher. It's just in the non-traditional sense. So what brought
Exactly.
you here?
Yeah, it was actually a health crisis.
Okay.
So, teaching for me was very hard on my body. And essentially, I was dealing with chronic migraines. While I was teaching, it became physically impossible for me to be the best teacher I could be without having a migraine headache attached to it. And so, simple things like bending down to tie a shoe and standing up again, I would find myself dizzy or sometimes nauseated. Often, if I had a headache, the lights in schools are usually the terrible blue light. They're horrible. They'll flicker. All of that stuff. I would have to wear sunglasses sometimes to block that light, and it just became really hard on my body. So I decided to end out that school year and stay home and figure out what was going on in my body. And it turns out I had food sensitivities and food allergies that I was completely unaware of.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. And I think one of the things that's really important for people to understand is that like sometimes life gives us those challenges, or gives us, I call them the reroutes, right? It gives us this
Yeah.
reroutes to be like,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't working. And I've said it before on the podcast where I'm like, sometimes God has to beat me over the head before I get the lesson.
Yes.
And it's like sometimes those beginning steps, like becoming a teacher, that was very important to who you were in your being, but it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
going to be your whole identity for the rest of your life, or that the teaching
Yeah.
identity would change. So
Yeah.
you're doing an excellent job of serving a community of people who are on that path of growth. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the reasons I'm super excited to have you on the podcast this week is because you have a book coming out. So tell us a little bit
That's
about that.
right. Yeah. So this book is called The Entrepreneur's Guide to a Phenomenal Life and Business. And it is not only for entrepreneurs, but specifically for entrepreneurs. They're the ones that will benefit the most. And what I love most about this, it is a collaboration project. And so I have assembled 5 other authors to share their stories. And what the focus on for this book, I love to call the 3 Gs. And they are when someone is in a gap in their life, like they're realizing I need to get out of teaching. And they're like, but I don't know what is next for me.
Yeah.
That is your general assessment period, your gap. And in that gap, we often don't do much. We're stuck. We don't know what to do. And so we're just kind of on pause. Um, and so that gap sometimes can take a few weeks, a few months, sometimes it takes years. And that is where we have a choice to make. Do we cross the bridge and go into our growth area? And when we're in our growth, which is our next G, that is where I believe God shows us all that He wanted us to be, all of the ways that He made us unique and amazing. He shows us in that growth phase. And so we get to learn who we are and how we became who we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then once we've established that growth and we're on a growth trajectory forward, then we pass into the glory zone. And I love this phase. This is when we are literally partnering with God, handing over the reins and saying, whatever it is that you think my life needs to look like, here you go, show me the way. And often that means we are using the gifts that he has created within us, and we are using those to teach and impart upon others those life lessons. And the foundations that I speak of in the book are the same foundations that I spoke of in the first book that I wrote. This book is my mom and entrepreneur journey. And that book is called Becoming a Phenomenal Mom, 5 Steps to a Healthier Life. But these 5 foundations are essentially the life lessons I was learning. And so I turned them into my signature system, and I take the reader through that. And so the reason I have 5 ladies who are contributing to the book is each one of them is representing one of those 5 areas, those foundations that I talk about.
So, inside of this space, what would you
Mm-hmm.
say is because writing a book is not easy, right? It's not, that's
Correct.
why not everybody does it. So,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think is one of the biggest aha moments that you had during the journey, or even because I found when I was writing my book that while I was writing it, like I started to think back on my past. I was like, oh, that's one of the biggest, like, this was a foundational aha moment for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is that for you?
Yeah, for me, it was the discovery of when I help other women step into their calling, I too get deeper into mine. And so it's literally living in that glory zone moment. And so what I have done is really just taken this phenomenal living concept of, healthy life balance and the 5 foundations that I talk about, and helping women discover which one is theirs, which one are they struggling with the most, but which one is their shining one, right? And so in this book, I have one woman who is a health coach, and so she is representing the Healthy Living Foundation. And so she essentially had all of these terrible life experiences, but then what she shares is how that transformed her health and set her on her path to her glory zone.
Hmm.
Another woman shares from emotional deficit, so she makes up the emotional health foundation, and she found herself in the midst of divorce and trying to navigate life on her own as a single mom with 2 boys, and what that looked like and how she could move forward, given this new place she found herself in. And then one of the other ones is spiritual, and her spiritual health journey was essentially her finding her relationship with God and what that
Hmm.
looks like. So really, every person has these foundations in their life, and in the collective and in everything I do, we just really take a look at what those are and help women to find what's their thing, what lights them on fire, what is God using in them to lead other women with.
I love that. I think it's super powerful to take a moment that would break most people, right? Like all of
Mm,
these, like health problems, emotional deficits,
mhm.
divorce, they break people, and some people don't recover. And I
Yeah.
think what's really powerful is you're teaching women that
Mhm.
because you experience something hard, it does not mean you're dead yet. It does not mean it. This is
Exactly.
just a foundation to excel from, and a lot of people need to hear that sometimes things
Mhm.
aren't happening to you, they're happening for you as a reroute, and that's super
Mhm.
powerful. So your book is coming out.
Yeah.
We are recording this here in November of 2025, and your book is launching this Friday.
It is Black
Yes,
Friday.
Black
Yes,
Friday.
this year. Yes, it is November 28th. It will be out to the world. And I am so excited for women to be able to get their hands on this, because it is a how to guide, how to have that healthy balance of life, work life, family life. but also honoring God at the same time with what He has called upon us to do, and how to kind of make all of that work. Because let me tell you, the old Paula would have been overwhelmed and unsure and stuck and in her gap for a very long time.
Yes.
But through coaching, through networking groups, Christian organizations, um, that I have affiliated myself with, that is how I have been able to essentially push beyond outside of my comfort zone
Yeah.
and do these hard things.
Yeah.
And then the first of which was writing my book. I knew as a little girl that I wanted to be a teacher. And I also knew I kind of wanted to write a book. When I got into college, that was when the fire started within me. But I had no idea at that time what that would look like or how it would happen.
Yeah.
And as my life just started to unfold, and I had lessons that I was learning that I felt like other women could learn from my either poor decisions or just not knowing
Yeah.
that they really could benefit from what I had learned. And so I then had I call them God downloads
Yeah.
of I need to help other women find what their version of a phenomenal life is.
Mm. Yeah. And it's so we were placed on this earth to prosper and to have an abundant and
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal life. And the
Mm-hmm.
hard times do have a way of swinging people off of that path. And so it's just noble and
Mm-hmm.
good work to put them back. So that is
Mm-hmm.
wonderful.
Yeah.
In the show notes for you all to know that the link to her book will be listed. So go on and support. As we know, one of the best things you can do is purchase a book by an author and then leave a review. That's how it helps
Mm-hmm.
on Amazon and all of the different platforms to get the book heard and seen, so that we can help Paula continue on with her mission of serving more people. Paula, I am just so thankful that I could have this time with you, that I can share you with my people, and that we can share your story and your book with the people as well, because it is something they need to hear. So I am so grateful that I had a meet cute with you this year and got the chance to meet you and spend time with you and learn with you. And I am just so very proud of the work that you do and where you're going. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, thank you. I
Of course.
really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I do just want to add very quickly
Yes.
that this book, I believe, is definitely something for any woman to to take part of and consume. We will actually be having a companion guide coming
Oh,
out at Christmas
good.
that you can use to journal. So there
Ooh,
are reflective questions in it that I ask, and so this journal that we're in the midst of creating right now, it will be out at Christmas, and the two will go together very nicely, with Bible verses and inspirational quotes and things like that, that will help
I love it.
make the experience even better.
I love it. Well, I look forward to that too. So when that comes out, I'll make sure to put that in your
Yeah,
show notes as well. Well, thank you so much
great.
for being here. I love
Thank
watching your
you.
journey unfold. Can't wait to see this hit the Amazon bestseller list. And we are rooting for you. Thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thank you. I loved it.
All right, friends. So make sure you check out the show notes so that you can purchase her book. Make sure you like, follow, download, and do all of the things that help this podcast get seen by more people internationally, all over the world, and here in the United States. I so appreciate you, and we'll see you next week on Say More Words.